Part 21. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 202. We have already met Ashi's girlfriend. It would be a little uncomfortable to go in and disturb Ashi at this time. That's right. From what she observed, that girl with long pink hair must have had thoughts about Nangxiang. Look at how intimate the two are. The relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend is definitely a done deal. Thinking about it this way, the rest of the Oka festival seems to be nothing interesting. But it is different from my eldest sister's stable thoughts. The second sister, Nango Shiho, has the Nango family's unique gene of fearing chaos in the world. She said cheerfully, "Sister, the girlfriend relationship has been confirmed, but besides that, isn't there a relationship like friends? Isn't it possible that sister is not curious about how many friends that boy has made in Tokyo?" As soon as the words were spoken, Nangxiang Yubeo, who was already a little soft-hearted, hesitated a little. It is impossible to say that you don't care about it. After all, this is the only seedling in Nangxiang's family. I will wait for him to continue the family lineage of the Nangxiang family in the future. How to deal with interpersonal relationships is a long-term course that cannot be taken carelessly. She hesitated. And this hesitation was already too late. Nango Shiho had already reached out to grab her and dragged her into Oka High School. Oka High School sophomore is not hard to find. Follow the campus tour map. Nango Shiho and Nango Yubo easily found the floor where the second graders of high school were located. And when they saw Nangxiang, they had always longed for it. Then, another one. Nangxiang Yubeo's beautiful eyes widened. Did she see something wrong? My younger brother was not the girl with long pink hair that he saw before, but was replaced by a girl with short pink and purple hair who half took off her jacket, revealing a white shirt underneath. This. Gudu. Nangxiang Yubo swallowed dryly and looked at what was happening in front of him with some disbelief. She thought about what Nango Shiho said before about 1, 2, or 3 girlfriends. At that time, she thought it was impossible. But now, this boy. Nango Shiho was also stunned, his scalp numb. She really didn't expect that her brother actually had such great abilities. He just seduced 2 girls in just 1 year. And look at this girl with short pink and purple hair, she looks so good looking, right? An upright and delicate face that suits anyone's aesthetics, milky white skin, and a narrow-minded smile that appears at the corner of his mouth from time to time. It was not inferior to the Godu Kazuri they had seen before. It's a bit awesome. Nango Shiho spoke quietly. Don't talk nonsense. It was obviously the first time for Nangxiang Yubeo to see this battle. He took a deep breath to calm down and then continued. Maybe Ashi and her are just friends. As soon as the words were spoken, even Nangxiang Yubeo himself believed it. Yes. There is no rule in the world that prohibits women from making friends with men. How can you say that you are your girlfriend from Nangxiang when you meet a girl? That would be too arrogant. Thinking of this, Nango Yuho did not forget to analyze it for his sister. Look, Shiho, the two of them have not done anything intimate until now. They are completely different from the pink-haired girl. They should just be friends, She hasn't finished speaking yet. Then he saw the girl with short pink and purple hair passing the fried noodles and hot dogs that she had not finished yet to Nangxiang Shi. And after Nangxiang Shi didn't know what he said to the other party, he simply put all these things into his stomach. Indirect kiss. Nangxiang Yubeo couldn't stand it anymore. She was originally conservative, but her face turned as red as a cooked octopus, and she couldn't even stand on her feet. Indirect kiss. This behavior is even more intimate than the previous one with the girl with long pink hair. Basically, he didn't run away. This girl with short pink and purple hair probably also has some thoughts about their younger brother. Calm down, sister, calm down. It's not surprising that you like this guy. At this time, Nango Shiho took on the responsibility of comforting his sister. He is good looking and has good academic performance. It is normal for one or two girls to like him. But, what if there is still more? At this time, Nango Yuho lost the confidence he had before and couldn't help but speak again. How is it possible? Sister, you have to think about it. Where in the world can there be so many outstanding girls falling in love with one person? At most, there are only one or two. Nangxiang Shiho was standing next to him, swearing by his guarantee. Yes. A high school boy. Having one or two outstanding girls like him is enough to make him happy. Do you really think he is some kind of god who came down to earth and is loved by everyone? That's impossible just thinking about it. And the key thing now is not just this. The key is, we'd better figure out the relationship between this girl with short pink and purple hair and our Ashi. Nango Shiho turned his head and said to Nango Yobeo. How to figure it out? Nangxiang Yobeo couldn't help but ask questions. That's all. Seeing that the girl with short pink and purple hair had stood up and said goodbye to Nanxiangshi, Nango Shiho simply pulled Nango Yubo and followed him. Then, after turning the corner that Nango could not see, Nango Shiho walked forward without hesitation and said hello to the girl with short pink and purple hair in front of him. Sorry to bother you. Huh? What's the matter? He looked at the two black-haired girls who suddenly blocked his path. Akane Shinjo stopped and asked strangely. Chapter 165. 1 update today, 3 updates tomorrow. 4,300 words. Can I help you? Akane Shinjo stopped and looked at the two black-haired girls standing in front of her strangely. For some reason, she always felt that the two people in front of her looked familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere. But if you have to recall the details in your mind. Akane Shinjo was a bit speechless at this point. It was as if the impression of the two people in his brain was covered with a layer of white fog. It's just that Akane Shinjo felt that they were a little familiar, so her attitude became much better and she asked again. What do you two want from me? Ah, sorry. Under Akane Shinjo's gaze, the black-haired girl with short black hair and a little baby bump on her face took the initiative to speak. Does this classmate know Nango Toki-san from the second class of the sophomore year? I didn't expect to hear this unexpected name from Nangxiangshi in the other person's mouth. Shinjo Akane was a little surprised and couldn't help but take a look at the two people's clothes. They are not wearing Oka High School uniforms, which means both of them are students from other schools, or a nearby university. Akane Shinjo was quite surprised, but she still spoke. Of course I know Nango-san's name, and I think there should be no student in Oka High School who doesn't know his name. When talking about Nango, even though Akane Shinjo has perfect disguise skills, she still has a sense of pride in her words. That's the pride of our school. Last time, we ranked first in the national simulation. Yes. That's my Shijun. Number 1 in the country. A true learning genius. Is that so? The Nangxiang family is very sensitive to other people's mood swings. Nango Shiho and Nango Yuho are no exception. After hearing Akane Shinjo's words with a sense of pride when she mentioned Nango, the two of them couldn't help but look at each other. Damn it, the girl in front of me seems to really like her younger brother. Plus the girl with long pink hair from before. This relationship suddenly became chaotic. But it was really irrational to reveal the identity of his Nangxiang sister at this time. Nango Shiho thought for a while and decided to retreat in order to at least find out how much the girl in front of him liked his younger brother. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 203. Then Nango Shiho spoke. My sister and I also heard about this Nangxiang classmate who ranked first in the national simulation test, so we were a little curious. But if you think about it carefully, even if you ranked first in the national simulation test last time, it is not something to brag about. Let's do it. Her voice paused, and she pretended not to be particularly concerned and added. Just thinking about it makes you realize that luck plays a big part in this. After all, you are competing with so many students. Maybe this Nangxiang student just has good academic performance and is lucky enough to get first place. Varied. The perfect smile on Akane Shinjo's face froze for a moment. But it was only for a moment. She immediately returned to her original smiling expression, but her eyes narrowed and she spoke. I can't stand listening to this. Maybe luck does account for a small part of the reason, but you must know that Nangxiang-san is an outstanding person qualified to represent Oka High School. Basically, every small test is stable. The land takes the first position. Akane Shinjo deliberately emphasized the pronunciation of the word a small part. This is really. You can almost clearly hear the favoritism of the girl in front of you. Nango Shiho grinned. He really didn't know what kind of enchanting soup his brother had poured into such a beautiful girl. The other party actually protected him like this. But I think it's because the outside world has praised him too much. This Nangxiang classmate is not that outstanding personally. For example, I heard that he was born in the countryside. Nango Shiho continued to speak. Being born in poverty, but still able to occupy a place in Tokyo Oka High School, doesn't it mean that he is outstanding? Akane Shinjo responded to Maimang. Although she doesn't know why there is an argument in a place like this, but if someone slanders Nangxiang in front of her, then she was really unhappy. It doesn't matter what she says about the person she likes, but if someone interrupts with a few words, she will definitely fight back. There is no point in praising suffering. The average family conditions mean that the person's vision and knowledge are average. That's not necessarily true. As far as I know, Nangxiang-san's knowledge is no narrower than that of local students in Tokyo. Besides the knowledge aspect, he doesn't have any other abilities. The girl with short black hair in front of her looked unmoved. The key is that what the other party said hit the nail on the head. It gave him the feeling of knowing Nangxiang very well, which made Akane Shinjo unable to resist. Articles. Nangxiang wrote an excellent article. Simple and sincere. This time it was even published in our school's school magazine Royalty. Akane Shinjo couldn't help but speak. It's just a matter of reading and writing articles. I won't be able to make money from this in the future. His words were rejected by the other party without hesitation, shaking his head. Besides, the second grader who has always been suppressed by him is too aggrieved, right? I won't feel wronged. Akane Shinjo finally couldn't help but speak. Why do you say that? Because I am Akane Shinjo, who is second in grade. I know Toki-kun better than you. Shinjo Akane finally couldn't stand it any longer and stopped pretending at all. Her face turned red, and she was obviously very angry at the short-haired girl in front of her. What happened? What is going on with this woman? As soon as he appeared, he kept saying bad things about Nangxiang in front of her. Facing such a person, she really couldn't maintain a perfect disguise, and angrily raised her pretty face and glared at the two people in front of her. Hey? Really? Nango Shiho didn't expect such an unexpected gain. Originally, she just took a look at Nangxiang's grades when passing by, so she said something about being ranked second in the grade below. The result was unexpected. The girl in front of me is the second grader of Oka High School. This is really. She is very beautiful, but she is only weaker than her younger brother in terms of academics, and it can be basically seen from the conversation just now. The girl in front of her showed extraordinary favoritism towards her younger brother. I really don't know where this brat got his good luck. There was actually an outstanding girl speaking for him. Even as a girl, Nango Shiho was so envious that he felt like his back teeth were about to break. But this is not the time to express jealousy. Even if they are in the same grade, it doesn't prove how well Shinjo-san understands him. Isn't this convincing enough? Or is it that Shinjo-san is the girlfriend of that Nango-san? She said what she had always wanted to say and stared at Akane Shinjo without hesitation. If she were an ordinary heroine in a youth daily drama, when faced with this topic, she would probably just hesitate, panic, and open her mouth not knowing what to say. But I am Akane Shinjo, who was one of the heroines of tokusatsu animations such as SSS. Gurlit nodded and admitted without hesitation. As Nang Xiang's girlfriend, she had already accepted it in her heart. She would never want to hide this relationship from outsiders. Although he has not made a positive confession to Nang Xiangxi. But there was already an indirect kiss plus the blessing of staying overnight. Ms. Shinjo was already confident. Moreover, he could publicize Nan Xiang's relationship with her as boyfriend and girlfriend in front of outsiders as early as possible, and it could clear the obstacles for some girls who didn't know the sky was the limit and wanted to steal food. It's simply killing two birds with one stone. Moreover, today she had to make the two women in front of her, who knew nothing about Nang Xiang, fully understand what was so good about her boyfriend. So no matter what she did, even if she knew there was a pit in front of her, she would step on it without hesitation. Now you understand. Anyway, he has already admitted that he and Nang Xiangxi are in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Akane Shinjo simply doesn't want to have such a thing as face. She raised her head and expressed her position with an expression that showed no signs of lying. As Shijun's girlfriend, I definitely understand Shijun's strengths and weaknesses better than the two of you. Nango Shiho said nothing. Seeing the other party fall into silence, Shinjo Akane also became energetic. Finally gained an advantage over language. So now is the time to strike while the iron is hot. Akane Shinjo will not give up any opportunity to attack. She took a step forward and looked down at the two people in front of her with the eyes of a giant standing tall on the sky and the earth. Yes, that's it. So, I hope you two can speak up for the rudeness just now and apologize to me, no, to my boyfriend. Akane Shinjo spoke more and more energetically, her eyebrows were dancing and she was arrogant. This was when she said the word apology to the girl with short black hair and the girl with long black hair in front of her. A rather surprised voice came from behind. Sister Obeo. Second Sister Shiho. This voice is very easy for Shinjo Akane to distinguish. Because of such a clear and refreshing voice, she had only heard it there when she was in Nangxiang. But is there a safe eldest sister? Second Sister Shiho? Only then did Akane Shinjo finally remember. Most of the memory fragments transmitted by the simulator are about Nangxiang and her daily life. And in that, although I have never met Nango Yoho and Nango Shiho directly, but she had often heard that he had these two sisters. This means Akane Shinjo turned her head to look at the two black-haired beauties standing in front of her, like a robot leaking oil. As the second sister, Nango Shiho was looking at her with a hearty and satisfied smile. The eldest sister Nango Yubo stood next to her and looked apologetic towards her. Gudu. He recalled how he was arrogant in front of his eldest sister and second sister when he was in Nangxiang just now. Akane Shinjo's originally fair face turned pink. In the next second, he was dyed red at an alarming speed. Ah! Elder sister? Is she Shijun's sister? I just said in front of Shijun's sister that I know Shijun better than they do. And in front of the two of them, he proudly said the words I am Shijun's girlfriend. It's over. Akane Shinjo's mind went blank, and there was only one word in her mind. She had rehearsed countless times in her mind what attitude and expression she should adopt when meeting Nangxiangxi's family. But now, all is lost. Incredible World 3429674665. Just the proud and arrogant attitude when he admitted that he was Nangxiang's girlfriend. Akane Shinjo felt that it was finished. Could this first impression be any worse? No more. It's not like you started off with such a bad first impression, right? If there is a regret medicine in the world, then Akane Shinjo will eat it without hesitation, and travel to before meeting Nango Shiho and Nango Yoho, and completely change her attitude. Let them know what a real girlfriend should have. But now, it's all over. The villain in Shinjo Akane's heart was covering his head and slamming it to the ground. But in reality, she unknowingly lost her arrogance and power, leaving only the cute and well-behaved person she had never been before. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 204. She hesitated and asked in a very low voice, Shijun, are these two, your sisters? Huh? What's wrong? Shintiao. Nangxiang was a little surprised by Miss Shinjo's attitude. You must know that Ms. Shinjo is usually perfect and confident, with a mischievous smile on her face that is always teasing others. Why haven't we seen each other for a while? Why do you feel so depressed and trembling when you speak? However, he still nodded and introduced Akane Shinjo. The one with long hair is the eldest sister Nango Yoho, and the one with short hair is the second sister Nango Shiho. Aribo-sama, Shiho-sama, good morning to both of you, I am, Shinjo Akane. No longer as arrogant as before, Miss Shinjo showed a smile that was about to burst into tears. Her appearance itself is very cute, even if she shows this expression, it just makes her feel more lovable. Hello, Miss Shinjo. Nango Shiho and Nango Yoho showed friendly smiles at the same time and nodded towards her. In fact, the two of them never cared about Akane Shinjo's attitude when she attacked them. On the contrary, for the girls who are willing to protect Nangxiang Shi in this way, as sisters, it is too late for them to take care of them. Speaking of which, eldest sister and second sister, why are you two here so early? Did you come to Tokyo yesterday? Seeing Akane Shinjo greeting her two sisters, Nangxiang didn't hesitate and asked. But the words were barely out of his mouth. Nangxiang Yobeo, who was next to him, had already spoken one step ahead of him. Shi, you go about your business first. Your second sister and I still have something to say to Qian. Akane. Nangxiang Shi was keenly aware of the change in title. Does friendship between girls come so quickly? This is just the first time they met, and they already call Shinjo Akane by her name. You must know that at this moment, he just calls Akane Shinjo Shinjo, referring to her by her last name. But okay, let's talk about it later. Since the two sisters wanted to pull Akane Shinjo out to whisper something, Nangxiang Shi naturally wouldn't stop them. Nangxiang Shi was neither stupid, nor was he slow. It only took him a moment to guess that it was his eldest and second sister who saw him helping to eat Miss Shinjo's fried noodles, hot dogs, and other snacks. So I was a little curious about the relationship between Akane Shinjo and him. As for the gentle male protagonist of Japanese comics, who is slow, panicked, and even wants to hide the relationship between Akane Shinjo and him, there's no point in doing something like that. Nangxiang Shi sighed softly. Falling in love is no joke. It makes no sense to hide a relationship. So whether it is Miss Godu, Miss Yamada, Chisuk Nishiki, Takina Inu, including the current Miss Shinjo, Nangxiang will always examine his feelings with them seriously. Slow. Panic. Hide. It's too tasteless to do something like that. Even in a sense, maliciously delaying a girl's relationship is worse than opening a harem openly. Chapter 166. Discovery of Simulated Objects. Godu Yuri, 4,000 words. Although it was the request of the two sisters, before leaving, Nangxiang still asked Akane Shinjo for her opinion. New article, you don't have to talk about topics you don't want to talk about. Don't feel embarrassed to refuse because of me. Nang Xiangxi glanced at Nang Xiangxiho thoughtfully, especially my second sister, she likes to watch some bloody love dramas on weekdays. She might say some unreasonable things, so don't take it to heart. Hey. You kid. I'm listening. I said that in front of you just because I knew you were listening. Nan Xiang's tone was light. Damn it. I'm your sister. Nango Shiho was so angry that his younger brother was so angry. However, she was unable to refute Nang Xiangxi's words. No way. The ones with the highest status in the Nango family are Nango's parents, followed by Nango Toki, Nango Obeo, and finally Nango Shiho's turn. She is a woman at the bottom of the food chain in every sense of the word. Yes, yes, yes. Listening to Nang Xiangxiho's retort of I am your sister, Nang Xiangxi responded perfunctorily at first, then smiled and said, then, second sister Shiho, promise me not to talk nonsense later, okay? Well. Nang Xiangxi's clear and handsome face is very beautiful when he smiles. And this sudden attack made Nango Shiho's face turn red. Looking at the other person's back as he turned away after saying this, the woman at the bottom of the food chain blushed and cursed in a low voice. You brat! I haven't seen you for a few months and you're so arrogant. Isn't she always like this? Next to him, Nango Yoho's fair face turned slightly red due to his younger brother's smile. And I don't know why, but just these few months have passed, and I feel that Ash is more masculine than before, as expected of Tokyo, it can really temper people. She touched her somewhat hot face with her white palms and sighed softly. No. I think this has nothing to do with Tokyo. A man like your brother who is particularly attractive to women is probably very rare even in the whole of Tokyo. Shinjo Akane murmured in her heart, but did not say this out loud. After all, looking at Nang Xiang's two sisters, they couldn't resist Nang Xiang's magic smile. Shinjo Akane actually has a lot of balance in her heart. It seems that last time it was not her problem at all. Because even Nang Xiangxi's family couldn't stop this guy's smile. Her mind was quite racing, but she had already adjusted herself from the awkward and embarrassed mood she had felt when she called herself Nango's girlfriend, and returned to the confident Shinjo Akane she used to be. Cough. Akane Shinjo coughed, then raised her cute and delicate face and took the initiative. I wonder what the two sisters want to say to me. Yes. Take the initiative. To win. She will marry a woman from Nangxiang in the future. Isn't this situation where she can establish a good relationship with her two sisters in advance exactly what she dreams of? As long as it's not rude like you just did, watch your words. Crisis can also be an opportunity. Akane Shinjo is extremely confident in her social skills. She was sure that she could make the two Nangxiang sisters happy and recognized her as Nangxiang's current girlfriend, so she took the initiative to speak. After hearing her words, Nango Shiho and Nango Yoho looked at each other, and then Nango Yoho, who had a more stable personality, spoke. What the two of us are actually more curious about is, what Ms. Shinjo said before that she likes our Toki and is his girlfriend, is it true? Yes. After all, it was just Shinjo Akane's words that Nango Shiho was half motivated to trick out. And there is no way of knowing whether that was Shinjo Akane's true words. This question is very important. The two of them had to keep their spirits up and pay attention to Akane Shinjo's expression. And it was under their gaze. Shinjo Akane, who had short pink and purple hair in front of her, just showed a somewhat carefree smile, and then nodded without hesitation. It's true that I like Toki-kun. Not using any of the disguise skills in daily life. Her expression was very sincere, and there was no trace of falsehood in her words. Only. Although it is true that I like Toki-kun, I am not actually Toki-kun's girlfriend now. I'm sorry, Shihone, Arihone, I just lied. Akane Shinjo lowered her head, her mind turned slightly, and after some consideration, she chose to retreat instead of advance. Mainly assuming the identity of a fake girlfriend doesn't make any sense. The two people in front of me are both sisters from Nangxiang. The two of them could find out by casually asking Nan Xiang. There is no need to hide it at all. Instead, it would be better for her to propose it directly to improve the impression points of the two sisters. I like Ashi, but aren't we girlfriends? Nango Yubo probably understood what Akane Shinjo meant. In other words, Miss Shinjo actually likes Otoki, but she hasn't reached the point of confessing, right? That's right. Akane Shinjo nodded in admission. And her gesture of nodding in recognition gave Nango Shiho next to her a headache. She hurriedly pulled her sister aside and lowered her voice so low that Akane Shinjo couldn't hear her. Sister, it seems like it's true that I like Ashi, but, what about that girl with long pink hair? Yes. Although she is very satisfied with Akane Shinjo, who looks extremely well educated in every move she makes. But Nango Shiho didn't forget the girl with long pink hair he saw on the other side of the road. She still remembers the shy action when the other party took the initiative to pull on Nang Xiangxi's sleeves. That's also a like reaction. Although Nango Shiho usually boasts loudly, he even claimed to be a master of love when he came here. But she has only watched some bloody romance movies and has no actual love experience. She is at the level of a dog-headed military advisor. Faced with the sudden situation in front of her, she, the dog-headed strategist, didn't know what to do for a while. You ask me? Nangxiang Yubeo couldn't help but glare at his sister. This guy usually likes to brag, boasting that he loves to be loved by everyone. The result is completely unreliable at the critical moment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 205. Moreover, my second sister has watched a few bloody romance movies. But she is one of those people who has never watched romantic movies. The two discussed in a low voice, glancing at Akane Shinjo from time to time. This made the smile on Akane Shinjo's face even sweeter and more beautiful. Compared to the miscellaneous thoughts of Nango Shiho and Nango Yuho, what she was thinking about was much simpler, to leave a good impression on them both. Take it slow and steady. Finally, he entered the house when he married Nangxiang. The two sides confronted each other inexplicably. After a while, Nango Shiho and Nango Yubo reached a consensus. Since they don't understand anything, they should stay put to avoid causing trouble to Shinjo, Akane and Nango. After all, two girls are virgins both physically and mentally. Faced with this situation, we are naturally helpless. Miss Shinjo, Shiho, and I already know the general situation. Nango Yuho considered his words, but when it comes to relationships, that, Shiho and I don't have much experience, so we can only say, let's support you. Just call me Chien, Sister Yubeo. After Nango Yuho said these words, Akane Shinjo blinked, and then sighed slightly. She seemed very disappointed, but in fact, her heart had already exploded. Support her. The two sisters from Nangxiang's family said they would support her. Although maybe this is just a simple polite talk between the two people. But as long as she has the sentence, there are so many things she can do. For example, when approaching Nangxiang openly, ask the two for some information about each other. Understand each other's interests and hobbies and cater to them. What can be said is that just this sentence actually shows that Nango Yuho and Nango Shiho are quite satisfied with her. Good. He clenched his fist hard where the two of them could not see. A perfect smile bloomed on Akane Shinjo's face, and she continued, by the way, you two are here to visit the Oka festival, right? If you don't mind, let me do it. Akane Shinjo is working hard to improve the favorability of Nango Shiho and Nango Yuho. Nangxiangshi here held his chin and looked at the time on his phone thoughtfully. After looking at the 8:16 a.m. sign, Nangxiangshi let out a small sigh. It was obviously only 8 o'clock in the morning, and he had just gotten up from bed. But why did he start to feel tired? Goto Kazuri, Shinjo Akane, and then his two older sisters. Nang Xiangxi rubbed his eyebrows and glanced around at the various class activities that had started to open one after another. Haunted house, target shooting room, cafe. It can be seen that these students are quite interested in this event. I guess the taste doesn't matter. But fortunately it was arranged in a decent manner. I feel like today is going to be an extremely long day. After scanning the surroundings and sighing, Nang Xiangxi continued to walk forward, wanting to find a place to rest temporarily. But he only took 2 steps forward and then had to stop. And the reason is very simple. A tender, clear child's voice suddenly sounded from in front of him. "Ah! It's the handsome big brother on my sister's phone." Then there was the soft feeling of something hugging his thigh. Huh? Little girl. Looking at the little girl with short pink hair hugging his thigh like a face hugger, Nan Xiangxi looked surprised. But he quickly realized that the little girl probably came to visit the Oka festival with her parents, but got lost with her parents on the way. So he gently pulled the little girl away, lowered his body, and looked at the other person. She has pink, fine, shiny shoulder-length short hair, and the twinkling pure blue eyes unique to a child. Her hands and feet are slender and adorable, and she is also carrying a small cloth bag cutely. And it also gave Nang Xiang a feeling that he was very familiar with it when he saw it. Wait a minute. Familiar? When Nang Xiang looked at the half-grown little girl in front of him, he seemed to have thought of something. Pink hair, blue eyes. There are also the dull hairs left on both sides of the bob head. These characteristics combined. Just when Nan Xiangxi was about to say something, the little girl in front of him raised her head again, looked at his face, and spoke excitedly, "He is really the good-looking brother that I often see on my sister's phone." Nang Xiangxi. Nang Xiangxi shook his head, stood up, and asked, "Little sister, what's your name?" Nisato. Goto Fusito. First meeting. The handsome big brother on the phone. The little girl with short pink hair in front of her said that, and she bent her little body very cutely and bowed to Nan Xiang. She is indeed Goto Ichiri's younger sister. Looking at Goto Yuri in front of him, Nang Xiangxi's suspicion was verified. In his simulated memory, he had met Goto Yuri several times. But at that time, the other person had already grown into a junior high school student, with a bright and cute personality, which was completely different from the cute Goto Yuri who was still in elementary school now. Hug. The handsome big brother on the phone. Stretching out his tender little hands, Goto Yuri raised his little face excitedly. What does big brother who looks good on the phone mean? Hug. Alright. Nang Xiangxi found it funny and hugged her little body into his arms. And Goto Yuri also put his arms around his neck in a very obedient and sensible manner, and then said with a serious expression, "You're the pretty big brother on your phone. I often see your photos on my sister's phone. Do you often see me on your phone?" "Yeah. My sister spends half an hour every day looking at my eldest brother's photos before going to practice guitar. I often see my sister smiling at my eldest brother's photos at home." Yes. Goto Eri, who would go to Ichiri Goto's room from time to time to check on his sister, often saw his sister holding a mobile phone, with a photo of her big brother in front of her taken from a distance on the screen. This made Goto Yuri feel deeply curious about Nang Xiang, who had never been masked in the photo. Because in her impression, my sister obviously has no friends in school. Why are you suddenly sitting in the room with a photo of a good-looking older brother and giggling? She was a little confused at such a young age. So Kazuri Goto, who saw Nango Toki in person for the first time today, was inevitably a little excited, and even asked for a hug from Nango Toki. Does the handsome big brother on the phone know my sister? Goto Erito was hugged by Nango Toki and asked in a cute and childish voice. Of course we know each other. Your sister and I are good friends. Nang Xiangxi smiled, reached out and touched her head, and then introduced himself. My name is not the big brother who looks good on the phone. My name is Nang Xiangxi, early. Children just like to give other people some weird nicknames. What's the big brother who looks good on the phone? Even if this is true, Nang Xiangxi still has to correct her wrong statement. It was just after Nang Xiang thought so and introduced himself. A voice came from his ears. Discovered object that can be simulated, Yuri go to. Nang Xiang time. Chapter 167. When will you marry Sister Ili? 4100. Discovered object that can be simulated, Yuri go to. Nang Xiang time. Listen to the system prompts in your ears. Look at the prompt that pops up in front of you. Nang Xiang took another look at Godu Futori, who was wearing a white sailor dress and looked to be no more than 5 or 6 years old. What a real punishment, this simulator. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. Are you able to do anything to such a young child? Can you even count her as a mock subject? Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but shake his head. He had felt something was wrong with the simulator before. Just count my 2 sisters as simulation objects. At this moment, not even Godu Yuri was spared. Do you have any special hobbies for sisters? Nang Xiang turned his gaze to one side and ignored the system's outrageous prompt. He is still young and wants to breathe more fresh air outside, and does not want to be sent directly to prison at a young age. Ignore the simulator prompts. Nang Xiang felt that the first priority now should be to send Godu Eri back to her parents as soon as possible. After all, a little girl, no more than 5 or 6 years old, was lost. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 206. Presumably her parents will be very worried now. After thinking about it, Nang Xiangxi, who touched his chin, directly carried Godu Eri to his class. Excuse me, is Godu-san here? Holding Godu Erito in his arms, Nango asked the female student wearing a black and white maid outfit at the front desk. Ah, it's Senior Nang Xiang. The female student in the black and white maid outfit at the front desk was familiar with Nang Xiangxi's arrival. After all, due to the need for extra classes, Nang Xiangxi, a celebrity from the school, would visit their class every now and then for half a month. She greeted her familiarly, and then spoke. Godu-san should be changing clothes backstage now. If Nango-senpai has anything to do with her, I can call her out now. Trouble. Nang Xiangxi nodded, and then stood aside with Godu Eri in his arms, instead of standing at the door blocking others from opening the door for business. Just like that, after almost 3 or 4 minutes. A surprised voice came from behind the door. She. Why are you and Early together? Wearing white stockings and a black and white maid outfit, Godu Kazuri couldn't understand the scene in front of him. Because the Nang Xiangxi in front of him did not come alone. In his arms, his sister was looking here with curious eyes. Early and your parents got lost. I thought you might have a way to contact your parents, so I brought her here. Yeah. Mom and Dad are lost. Godu Yuri very much agreed with Nangoshi's words and nodded his little head cutely. But in the next second, she was pulled away from Nang Xiangxi's arms by her sister with lightning speed. Early, you didn't cause Ashi, brother Nang Xiang any trouble, did you? Godu Ichisato lowered his voice. She is now afraid that her sister will cause trouble to Nang Xiangxi. If it was because of his sister's reckless behavior that the goodwill between him and Nang Xiangxi was lowered, then she really wanted to cry without tears. However, before Godu Eri could answer, Nang Xiangxi, who had already heard it, took the initiative and said with a smile. It's nothing. Early is very good and didn't cause me any trouble. Is that so? Listening to Nang Xiangxi's words, Godu Kazuri subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next second. Speaking of which, brother Shi, what is your relationship with your sister? Go-To Yuri looked at his nervous sister in front of him, and then at Nang Xiangxi who was standing to one side. When she was young, she always felt that the relationship between Nang Xiang and her sister was not that simple. Didn't I tell you before? Ili and I are good friends. Nang Xiangxi replied with a smile, then turned his head, right? 1 mile. Hey? Oh, oh. That's right. Brother Nang Xiang and I are good friends. After reacting, Go-To Ichiri nodded repeatedly. But this time, Go-To Yuri shook his head and denied with a bright smile, it's a lie. My sister doesn't even have friends in school. Well. Go-To Ichiri opened his mouth wide, pulled Go-To Eri directly behind him, and spoke to Nang Xiang with a twitching expression. Really, it's true, children are just childish. She, don't worry about it. No way. Go-To Yuri squeezed his little head out from behind his sister's skirt and said seriously. Obviously my sister will take a peek at my brother's photos on her phone at night, and she will giggle like he when she looks at them. I know this, Nang Xiangxi. Nang Xiang looked at Go-To Izato who covered Go-To Eri's mouth with empty eyes. Sensing Nango's gaze, Go-To Ichiri's twitching face revealed a smile that was even uglier than crying. Really, you are still talking nonsense. You are really a kid who likes to lie. She, please don't believe what my sister says. She usually likes to talk nonsense. Okay, but before that, 1 mile. Nang Xiangxi opened his mouth, looking a little embarrassed. What's wrong? Isn't it about time you let go? Well, early, she has stopped moving. Hey. 2 miles. 2 miles. Maid cafe in the morning. The panicked voice of a certain socially fearful girl came out. I'm really sorry. After bowing deeply to the classmate who came to help, Go-To stammered an apology. Not only did he not help, he even caused trouble to his classmates and Nang Xiangxi. Go-To Ichiri really felt like crying now. Why do you feel like everything is not going well? It was obviously in her plan to put on a maid outfit, suppress her fear of picking up customers, and give him a big surprise when she came to Nang Xiang with a coupon. As a result, now, let alone the maid costume. Even she herself was worried. Yes. Fearful of society, she carefully constructed all the plans for the Oka festival for the first time. First, Ikuyo Kita offered to move the equipment, allowing her and Nang Xiang to spend a relatively warm morning. When she handed Nang Xiang the coupon for the maid butler cafe, she gave Nang Xiang a little shock in her maid outfit. At the end of the shift, I successfully made an invitation to visit the Oka festival with Nang Xiangxi. It was such an almost perfect plan. But it was completely destroyed because his sister suddenly appeared. After all, no one really takes their sister and the person they like to the cultural festival, right? It's over, everything is over. Go-To Ichiri was really on the verge of tears. He really didn't know why everything was so unsatisfactory. It's not easy to find someone you like, and the first time you act for him, it's over before you even have a chance to start. Fortunately, the students in the class are quite reasonable. When they learned that Go-To Yuri was sent to Nango after being lost, they all very considerately asked her to send Go-To Yuri back to her parents first, and that the duty at the maid cafe would be discussed later. Say it again. And Nang Xiangxi also said very considerately that he would work with her to send Go-To Yuri to her parents. Only then could Go-To Kazuri hold back and cry on the spot without feeling aggrieved. Brother Shi. I want to eat that. Go-To Yuri suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed to a nearby takoyaki restaurant. Early, don't cause trouble to Ashi. Go-To Ichisato quietly scolded her like a big sister. But obviously, her sister's majesty is almost non-existent in the eyes of her younger sister. Even if she spoke like this, Go-To Yuri still turned his head cutely to Nang Xiang, whom he had just met, and said in a long voice, Hey brother Toki. I told you, early, don't cause any trouble to Ashi. Goto Ichiri's expression became a little serious and he was about to continue talking. It's okay, Ili. Nang Xiangxi smiled and stretched out his hand to touch Goto Ichiri's head. It's just a portion of takoyaki, I can still afford it. Ah, yes, dot. Feeling the warmth of Nang Xiang's palm, Goto Kazuri's serious expression softened instantly. She blushed cutely and nodded her head inarticulately. Goto Yuri looked at the scene very curiously and remembered it in his heart. As mentioned before, the snack stalls at the Oka festival are basically set up by students. And the takoyaki stall in front of me is no exception. I saw two female students there who were using bamboo pokes in their hands to flip the takoyaki in front of them. The two of them were so busy that they were sweating profusely. I tried to turn it over before the batter had solidified, but ended up getting yellow and white batter everywhere, which looked very unskilled. But Nang Xiangxi didn't care. After all, it is a student stall, so it is normal that the techniques are not as skilled as those outside. He walked over with Goto Eri and Goto Ichiri and said hello. Excuse me, I'd like some takoyaki. Senior Nang Xiang. The two female students whose names were called looked up and made a surprised sound when they saw Nang Xiang standing in front of them. Nang Xiangxi nodded and responded nonchalantly, about how long? The next one will take about 5 minutes, Nang Xiang senpai. Nang Xiangxi nodded. He was actually used to the surprise of the two people in front of him. After all, he is the long-term number one in the second grade of Oka High School, plus he has the added bonus of being a senior. Because of this, Nang Xiang was relatively well known in the circle of first-year students as the top of the school's food chain. And even Goto Eri, who was holding his little hand, could notice this. When he saw Nang Xiang and walked over, the voices of the two female students in front of him became obviously respectful. And this is an experience that Goto Yuri has never enjoyed with his sister. You must know that when she is outside, her sister Goto Ichiri will even give her money to buy popsicles, which makes her feel completely unreliable. This made Goto Eri tilt his head, and in a childish voice, he asked Goto Iri next to him, is brother Toki famous? I haven't told you, early, yet. Goto Ichiri raised a finger seriously, Aki is very famous. Almost everyone in Oka High School doesn't know about him. Is that so? Goto Yuri's eyes were bright, and his voice was a bit incredible, how did my sister know such a powerful person? Well. The words just came out of my mouth. Goto Ichiri opened his mouth and didn't know how to answer this question. How did we know each other? How do I put this? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 207. She remembers the meeting with Nang Xiangxi very clearly, probably because she had a severe low self-esteem and misunderstood Nang Xiangxi, and felt that the other person might bully her, and then the following series of stories happened. But this is not a sweet and sour love memory. Instead, it was a dark history that would be difficult to wash away in her lifetime. So when my sister asked this question, Goto Ichiri really didn't know how to answer. Just when she was in a dilemma, Nang Xiangxi next to her smiled and said, when I met Ili, to be honest, I really missed it. It must have been in the atrium. I saw Ili carrying a guitar, I was also interested in the guitar at the time, so we went over to chat. After a few words and chatting, I got to know her. He spoke so fluently that Goto was stunned for a moment. How to say? Something didn't feel right, but Nang Xiangxi was always telling the truth. Is that so? Sister. Goto Eri turned his head and looked at his sister. Well. That's about right. Goto Ichisato spoke softly. Hey, it feels so interesting. Early will also have such interesting experiences when he grows up. Faced with his sister's innocent eyes, Goto Ichiri replied with a guilty conscience. Really? Yeah. Really? Then I have another question to ask my sister. Eh, what, what's the problem? Then when does sister plan to marry brother she? Puff. Cough cough cough. Directly choked by the sentence, Goto Ichiri's cherry pink lips trembled at this moment. Get married. You, what are you talking about? Eri. Mary. Why is this topic brought up? Isn't this too sudden? Hey? Don't you want to get married? Brother, she doesn't think so either. Goto Yuri looked at Nangxiang with a face full of reluctance. Nangxiang she smiled, stretched out his hand to touch her head, squatted down, looked at Goto Yuri's big innocent eyes and said. Marrying Ili, it sounds good if you think about it carefully. Then let Early be the bridesmaid for both of us, okay? Okay. Goto Yuri cheered happily. She. You, what are you talking about? Goto Ichiri couldn't even speak at this moment. She blushed and spoke hurriedly. Hey, Early, look, your sister is unwilling. It seems that there is not much hope for getting married. Nangxiang she sighed, his face full of regret. No. Brother she. I will do a good job in ideological work for my sister. Goto Yuri responded with a serious expression. The attitude of her sister made Goto Kazuri feel even more embarrassed and anxious. She closed her eyes and let out a mournful sound of woo. You two know how to bully me. Chapter 168. Goto's parents are worried, 4,000 words. Goto Naoki and Goto Michio were very anxious. Because just now, they were visiting the Oka festival and suddenly discovered that their second daughter was lost with them. Although there is a reason why there are so many people coming and going after the Oka festival was opened. But the most important thing is that the two of them were too relaxed today and were negligent. Just when the two of them were planning to go directly to the Oka High School radio station and the Lost Children Contact Center to seek help, their eldest daughter Goto Ichiri called. It turns out that Yuri Goto is now over there with Ichiri Goto. This made Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto finally relax. He simply agreed on a meeting place with Goto Kazuri on the phone. Naoki Goto and Michio Goto arrived at the agreed place. Area B, that should be here, right? Looking at the Oka Festival visit map in his hand. Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo looked around. But there were too many people coming to visit the Oka Festival. The two of them searched around for a long time but didn't see Ichiri Goto's figure. Just when they were about to make another call to inquire about Goto Ichiri's location, a clear voice suddenly sounded beside him. Sorry to bother you, are they Uncle Naoki and Aunt Mikiyo? Why? Suddenly hearing someone saying hello to themselves, Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo subconsciously looked back. At some point, a young man was standing behind them. It was a young man with short black hair, which was a bit messy. His handsome face had a calm smile, and his black eyes were bright, giving him a sense of clarity unique to young people. Unlike other young people, although Goto Naoki didn't speak, he could always feel a vague sense of confidence in the other person. This is probably a kind of temperament, and Naoki Goto can't tell. But, why did such a handsome young man suddenly talk to them and even say their names? Goto Naoki didn't understand. He couldn't remember where he met the handsome young man in front of him, so he looked at his wife. Goto Mikiyo also shook her head at him, indicating that she didn't recognize him either. This made Goto Naoki feel strange, and he couldn't help but ask, I'm sorry, are you? Sorry, I haven't introduced myself yet. The handsome young man in front of him smiled and spoke, Uncle Naoki, Aunt Mikiyo, hello, I am Nango Toki, a friend of Goto Ichiri. Nangxiang time. Still a friend of Ili. Looking at the handsome young man in front of them, Naoki Goto and Michio Goto both showed incredible expressions of surprise. There's not much in front. The key is the friends of Goto Ichiri at the end, which is enough to surprise Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo. My daughter's friend. That daughter who is socially fearful, has low self-esteem, stutters when speaking, and dares not even look at others, can she still have such good-looking male friends? This is unlikely just thinking about it, right? Huh? Do you have any questions? Apparently sensing the surprise of Naoki Goto and Michio Goto, Nango asked. Isn't it just a friendship? What's so surprising about this? That. Goto Naoki opened his mouth and said with some uncertainty, I'm sorry, I am Goto Naoki, but, Nangxiang-san, did you recognize the wrong person? That is to say, is there a female classmate with the same name as our family? Nangxiang classmate admitted the mistake. Nangxiang was a little speechless. Even if I misidentify Goto-san, there is no reason why I should misidentify your two names, right? Yes. There can't really be two Goto Ichisato. Their parents' names are exactly the same, right? But what Nangxiang didn't expect was, after he said that, Goto Naoki, whose eyes were obscured by bangs on his forehead, seemed to have thought of something again, and put forward his conjecture simply. That is, Nangxiang-san is the kind of rental friend who is very popular on the internet recently, right? That's right. The rental friend must have run away. Otherwise, with her daughter's self-conscious and fearful appearance, how could she have found such a perfect male friend? It's simply a fantasy. Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo looked at each other and nodded to each other. Nangxiang. I had a headache when I was in Nangxiang. Forget it about Yuri Goto, the younger sister. Nangxiang never thought that Goto Ichiri's image in the eyes of her parents would be so bad. Ms. Goto, what kind of life do you usually lead at home? How did you make your parents so unsure of your relationship management? He shook his head helplessly, but still took out his mobile phone. I'm not a rental friend. If Uncle Naoki and Aunt Mikiyo really don't want to believe it, I can call Goto-san right now and ask Uncle Naoki and Aunt Mikiyo to explain it clearly to her. It was because Goto Ichiri couldn't find his parents after looking for a long time that he took the initiative to find them. Now people have been found. His mission was almost completed. Nangxiang's expression was natural, his tone was smooth, and there was no sign of lying at all. Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto, who didn't believe it at first, became more or less convinced. No need, Nango-san, Goto Naoki said with some embarrassment, please take us directly to Ili, Early should be there too, right? Well, Goto-san is accompanying Eri. Nangxiang smiled and nodded, leading the way while speaking. I felt that there were too many visitors, and I was worried that you two might not be able to find a place, so I came here specifically to look for you. Go this way. Nangxiang's speaking voice is very pleasant, and he seems to have deliberately mastered the rhythm of his speech. This excellent language skills allowed him to seize the initiative and at the same time demonstrate his extremely high level of education. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 208. This made Naoki Goto and Michio Goto even more surprised. Because no matter how they think or imagine, such an outstanding young man in front of him is not someone that his socially fearful and withdrawn daughter can associate with. Especially when he was halfway through the walk, Mikiyo Goto seemed to have thought of something, and took the palm of her husband in front of her, lowering her voice. Naoki, I seem to have heard of the name Nangxiang. It should be said that she is indeed Goto Izato's mother. Even though she is in her late 30s, she still looks cute when she talks to her husband by biting his ear. Does Mikiyo feel the same way? Goto Naoki moved his eyes away from Nangxiang's figure and whispered, Actually, I feel like I have heard it somewhere, wait a moment dash. Goto Naoki seemed to have recalled something, and it took him a long time to speak. I remember, Nangxiang, isn't this the one who ranked first in the national simulation test last time? Number 1 in the national simulation test. Mikiyo Goto widened her beautiful blue eyes and looked at Nango's back in front of him in surprise. Yes. When I first entered Oka High School, wasn't there an announcement on the bulletin board at the bottom? Congratulations to sophomore Nangxiang Shi for winning the first place in the national mock test. At this point, Mr. and Mrs. Goto looked at each other. They couldn't help but look at Nangxiang in front of them. His expression was more than surprised, it could even be said to be a bit dumbfounded. Because they both never thought that their daughter could actually meet such an outstanding friend. It was also when the two of them were still whispering and communicating. Nanxiangshi stopped in his steps, turned around and said, "Hello, here we are, Uncle Naoki and Aunt Mikiyo." Then the two discovered it. It turned out that at some point, Nangxiangshi had taken them out of the playground and to the nearby green belt of the campus where there were relatively few people. At this time, Goto Ichiri and Goto Eri were sitting on the bench. "Dad. Mom. Watching my parents appear." Goto Yuri immediately abandoned his sister and threw himself at Goto Mikiyo with open arms. "Really?" Mikiyo Goto picked up her second daughter and said, "Nari, I want to thank you, big brother Nango." Goto Yuri nodded his head vigorously, then turned to look at Nangxiang. "Thank you, brother Shi." The waiter had a sweet voice when he spoke, and was very cute. Nangxiang Shi smiled, which was considered as a yes. "Dad, Mom, really, why did you come so early? And you even lost early." Goto Ichisato, who was wearing a maid outfit, complained dissatisfiedly to the parents in front of him. Of course she would complain. You must know that her good cards and full of plans were completely disrupted by the appearance of Goto Yuri. This little guy doesn't make people worry at all. Basically all her dear plans along the way came to nothing. You know she is a social terror. Incredible World 3429674665. Just to make these plans, I don't know how much psychological work I have done. She complained, but before she could finish her words, she was pushed aside by Naoki Goto and Michio Goto. "Why?" Goto Ichiri looked dumbfounded, looking at the scene in front of him, completely confused as to what was happening. "Ili, let me ask you, are you friends with Nangxiang classmate?" "Huh? Yes, yes." Everything happened so suddenly that Goto Ichiri could only answer in a daze. "Not a rental friend. How could he be a lone friend? She is a real friend who has helped me many times." As soon as he heard the word rental friend, Goto Ichiri, who was still a little confused at first, immediately came to his senses. As if she was insulted, she stammered and made an incredible sound, and am I the kind of person who would spend money to rent friends? How can you doubt me so much? Yes. Isn't this insulting? How could she spend money to rent friends? That would be too empty and too sad, right? She retorted with righteous indignation. But Naoki Goto and Michio Goto didn't say a word, just looked at her in silence and retorted. That is, in this silent atmosphere. Goto Ichiri, who was full of confidence just now, opened his mouth and finally lowered his head. "All right. She is indeed the kind of person who will rent friends when pressed. But she is really my friend. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. Whatever else the parents say is up to them." But this was the only sentence she had the confidence to say. Goto's parents obviously felt their daughter's tone. Then they said in disbelief, "Ili, how did you make such an outstanding friend? You know, at home, Goto Ichiri always talks to her imaginary air friend, Yoshida." Suddenly having such an outstanding friend made them unable to accept this shocking fact. That, it's she, he's very interested in guitar. That's how we became friends. He doesn't have the eloquent ability he had in Nangxiang. Goto Ichiri had no choice but to hesitantly repeat what he had just said to Goto Yuri in Nangxiang. But just listen to her say these words. Goto Mikiyo's face showed a moved look. Next to her, Goto Naoki covered his face with his hands and shed tears of emotion. Wow! Daughter! My eldest daughter! She can actually find friends by her own abilities. Does the reaction need to be so exaggerated? Goto raised his head and spoke cautiously. Of course it's necessary, X2. Ah, okay, sorry. Goto Ichisato lowered his head. Seeing his daughter lowering her head, Naoki Goto couldn't help bragging to Mikiyo Goto next to her. Mikiyo, look, it's right to let Ili get into rock music, right? It must be through rock music that you can make such good friends, woo woo woo. When he talked about the latter part, he couldn't help but cover his face with his hands and shed tears. In fact, it's not to blame for his exaggerated reaction. After all, the two of them put in an unknown amount of effort because they were worried that Goto Ichiri would not be able to integrate into society in the future. Kazuri Goto wanted to get into rock music. So even if she practiced 6 hours a day and even neglected studying, neither of them said a word. He was afraid that she wouldn't be able to make friends because of her isolation in middle school, so she spent a lot of money to send her to Oka High School. They even put charms on their homes to ward off evil spirits and put piles of salt in the corners. Goto's parents have done this kind of miscellaneous things many times. And that daughter actually, made friends of the opposite sex on her own. For Naoki Goto and Michio Goto, this is no less than a big step in the progress of human civilization. Think of this. Goto Naoki turned his head with excitement, and held the hand of Nangoshi, who was confused. Please, please, you must continue to be friends with our family. This is my lifelong request. Please. It doesn't matter if you call me daddy. Please. Ah, Nan Xiang's face was full of questions when his palm was suddenly held. What is this middle-aged man saying all of a sudden? Chapter 169. Let Goto Ichiri become the bride. 4,100 words. Naoki Goto was obviously in a rather fanatical state. After all, the fact that his daughter had made a male friend seemed a bit unbelievable to him. You must know that since childhood, Goto Ichiri has never been friends with men. Even speaking on weekdays can be said to be very little. So it's natural that he made some gaffes. However, compared to Goto Naoki's excitement, Michio Goto's reaction was calmer. She first told her husband to shut up with a smile, then smiled and held Nan Xiang's hand and said, Nangxiang-kun, having a friend like you in Ili really makes us feel at ease. Just as my husband said, please remain friends with Ili in the future. Mikiyo Goto smiled demurely, having a male friend like Nango-kun, Naoki, and I feel relieved. It should be said that she is a woman who can give birth to a beautiful girl like Ichiri Goto. Mikiyo Goto looks very beautiful when she smiles. Listening to her words, Nangxiang shook his head seriously, and then said, in that case, you are overly complimentary. I am actually lucky to be able to maintain a friendship with Ili. A woman like her, there are too few children now. His conversation was moderate, and even though he was only wearing the uniform of Oka High School, he felt elegant. The most important thing is that his words are full of sincerity and there is no joke in them. This made Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto's eyes sparkle. What a polite kid. And he seems to really regard his daughter as a good friend. Not bad, really good. However, compared to the satisfaction of Goto's father and Goto's mother. Next to him, Goto Kazuri's face was already flushed. Mom, Mom. What are you talking about to Toki? I'm telling the truth, Ili. Mikiyo Goto turned to look at Ichisato Goto, whose face turned red and wanted to speak. Then he worriedly held his face and said, I have always been worried about whether you will meet that kind of bad man with bad conduct in the future. Go to Ichiri blushed, and then became a little unconvinced. How can dash? What do you mean, where is there? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 209. Goto Mikiyo shook her head helplessly and put forward her own thoughts. Think about it for yourself. If you meet that kind of bad man in the future who will always ask you for money to hit small steel balls, he will spend all the money you have saved with great difficulty, and then bully you and let you continue to give him money he has living expenses. If you don't give him living expenses, he will beat or scold you. Will you resist him? This. Goto Ichiri opened his mouth and subconsciously imagined the scene. At the end, it's not just about playing steel ball, but also selling your favorite guitar for money. Goto Mikiyo continued to speak with a sad face. Until then, you will realize how rare it is to have a friend like Nango-kun. Well, the words spoken by my mother can be said to be heartbreaking. The key point is that Goto Ichiri can't find any excuse or reason to refute. Because she had sadly discovered just after thinking about it, she was really the kind of person who was submissive and would not retaliate even if she was hit or scolded. As for resistance, this makes me even more afraid. Only. Aunt Mikiyo, I think what you said is biased. Nangxiangshi took the initiative to speak for Goto Ichiri. Indeed, there are such scum in this world, but Ichiri is already working hard to change himself. It's just because of his temporary personality that he can blame it later. It's unreasonable what could have happened. That's right. He watched Goto Ichiri step by step rely on his own efforts to reach where he is now. He also knew how much the other party had sacrificed to improve his character of low self-esteem and social fear. Just because of one's temporary character cannot be used as a criterion for future judgment. After arriving, perhaps Goto Ichiri's character will still be so shy. But when it comes time to refuse, Kazuri Goto, who looks weak on the outside but is extremely strong on the inside, will refuse without hesitation. Just like her ID on the internet called Guitar Hero. Sooner or later, she will surely be able to become her own hero. This is not because I stand as a friend to save Ili, but because I have such confidence in her. Nangxiangshi frankly finished what he wanted to say. There is no falsehood in the words. She. Goto Ichiri looked at Nango with some emotion. She has always had low self-esteem, fear of society, and negative emotions. She never thought that Nangxiang would trust her so much. Her eyes were red, and she finally made up her mind. Then, under the astonished gazes of Naoki Goto and Michio Goto, she reached out and took Nango Toki's hand, and nodded vigorously. Dad, Mom. Just like she said, don't worry. I will continue to work hard in the future. Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto obviously did not react. Because they never imagined it. Positive words like work hard and come on will come out of Goto Kazuri's mouth. I have never thought about it. The eldest daughter who doesn't even dare to look at others when she goes out will take the initiative to hold the hand of a boy who is not much different from her own age. This caused Mikiyo Goto and Naoki Goto's brains to freeze for a while. But fortunately, both of them are already mature adults, and they can adjust their mentality after being distracted for a moment. At the same time, his eyes stayed on Goto Ichiri's shy and blushing face, and her hand that quickly let go when she took the initiative to hold Nangxiang's hand. This. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Realizing that Goto Kazuri may not have that simple relationship with Nango Toki. Michio Goto winked at Naoki Goto. And what she meant was very simple. My daughter's reaction. Could it be that you have feelings for Nangxiang-kun? As Naoki Goto, who has lived with his wife for more than 10 years, he naturally understands what his wife wants to express in her eyes. He nodded vaguely, confirming his wife's feelings. Yes. The hands were held in front of them. and they have never seen their eldest daughter, who is extremely socially anxious, take such initiative against a boy. The two just looked at each other and finally reached a consensus with the tacit understanding between husband and wife. Nango-kun Michio Goto spoke with a peaceful smile. "Excuse me, what's the matter?" "Aunt Mikiyo." "Actually, it's nothing." Goto Michio smiled. "I heard from Ichiri that it was Nango-kun who helped find Eri. Regarding this matter, I want to thank you properly, so I want to ask Nango-kun, do you have time recently? I would like to invite you to our house for a meal." "A meal?" Nan Xiangxi shook his head. "Ili and I are friends, this kind of thing is just a piece of cake. There is no need to bother Aunt Mikiyo so much." "Really? Taking care of Goto Yuri is what he, as an older brother, should do. You can't really watch her get lost at the Oka festival, right? It's still needed." Mikiyo Goto clasped her hands together and simply decided for Nango. "That's it? Next weekend, Nango-kun will come to our house for dinner. How about it? Since Aunt Mishide said so, then I would be disrespectful. Mikiyo Goto invited me so kindly, and the other party also has the status of an elder." Nang Xiangxi thought for a while and finally nodded in agreement. "It's not that big of a deal after all. It's not like a son-in-law coming to see his father-in-law and mother-in-law. It's just a meal, nothing more." Next to him, Goto Kazuri stared blankly at Nango as if he had been struck by lightning. "Why? Why? She is coming to my house for dinner." The surprise came so quickly, like a tornado, that she felt caught off guard. Eat, even though it's at home." But it was Nang Xiang who took the time to come over on the weekend. In a sense, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Goto Ichiri began to have random thoughts again. When he secretly looked at Nang Xiang, his expression became entangled and a little expectant. Knew it? Naoki Goto and Mikiyo Goto, who had raised Ichiri Goto for more than 10 years, noticed the change in their eldest daughter's mood almost instantly. The two of them couldn't help but look at each other, completely confirming their previous guesses. "My daughter must have fallen in love with the Nang Xiang in front of her." "Think so?" Goto Naoki and Goto Michio smiled and started chatting with Nango. Nango's speaking skills are very good, and he has a lot of witty words. Even when he is communicating with elders like Goto Naoki and Goto Mikia, he feels like he is familiar with the road. He quickly lightened up the entire conversation with his witty remarks. "Wait until it's almost time." Nango Toki and Goto Ichisato stood up and said goodbye to Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo in front of them. "There is nothing we can do about this. Ichiri Goto still has work to do at the maid and butler cafe, so he can relax and have fun after his shift. Although Nang Xiangxi is okay for the time being, he still needs to be alert to various situations that may arise." Because there was an inexplicable intuition telling him that today's Oka festival was far from over. They both stood up to say goodbye. Although Goto Naoki and Goto Mikiyo were a little reluctant to leave, they still smiled and nodded goodbye. Wait until the two people get further and further apart. Only then did Naoki Goto pull Mikiyo Goto, his face full of excitement, and he discussed with some disbelief, "I must be right, right? Ichiri must really like Nango-kun, right? I think it should be." Michio Goto nodded. "All are women. Of course she understands her daughter's thoughts better than her husband. The daughter who has been withdrawn and shy since kindergarten may really have someone she likes this time. And I didn't expect Ili to have such a good sense." Michio Goto sighed. "Not to mention, although my daughter has low self-esteem, average academic performance, and a lot of shortcomings, she has really good eyesight. To be able to see such an outstanding person as Nang Xiangxi at a glance. Ranked first in Japan's national simulation test. As long as you maintain this score, you will be able to be admitted to the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Tokyo at will in the future, right? Moreover, After talking to Nango Toki just now, we found out that the other person was a student who had made his way to Tokyo from Akita Prefecture. This satisfied her even more. Ahem, from the same point of view, Mikiyo, you actually have a very good vision. Goto Naoki watched his wife praise Nangxiang so much. At any rate, as a male, he certainly felt a sense of comparison and coughed slightly before speaking. Michio Goto couldn't help but glance at her husband, and then sighed slightly. Naoki, have you forgotten? When you were in a rock band, I almost broke up with you because you were always tepid. Well. Goto Naoki trembled as if struck by lightning. It was indeed an unforgettable experience for him. Goto Naoki was once overly obsessed with rock bands, but the band itself was not famous and could not make a living from it. Therefore, Goto Mikiyo suggested that he should break up if he doesn't find a job. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 210. This resulted in him being forced to give up rock and roll and find a job. But even so, Naoki, you are still just a window person. With a demure smile on her face, Goto Mikiyo spoke again. Woo. Goto Naoki let out a mournful cry, unable to get up again. In Japan, window workers refer to employees who are not highly valued in the workplace. Because they are not trusted by workplace leaders and are worried that window workers will affect the work of other employees, they are placed near windows or in warehouses. Such a remote location. A few casual words suppressed the husband's newly emerged arrogance. Only then did Mikiyo Goto and Naoki Goto look back at Nango's retreating figures. Let's just talk about the first one I saw today. Their impression of Nangxiang was very good. But obviously, if you want to see a person clearly, you cannot make a judgment based on just one encounter. There are still many things they don't know about Nangxiang. If possible, as Goto Ichiri's parents, they naturally hope to have further contact with Nango Toki. After all, it's obvious that his daughter has fallen in love with him, and it looks like he's a bit poisoned. So, as Goto Izato's parents, they must want to find out more about Nangxiang before certain things are considered safe. This is also an important reason why they invited Nangxiang to dinner. Actually, being good or not is not that important. Michio Goto shook her head. As long as you can be happy 1 mile from now, that's enough. Yes, Naoki Goto felt the same way. Even if Nangxiang was not that good, as long as he could make Goto happy. That is enough for them as parents. Goto Eri, who was lying in Goto Naoki's arms, listened to what they both said. A pair of big blue eyes turned around, curiously looking at Nangxiang's retreating back, and couldn't help but ask. Will my handsome big brother come to our house to play in the future? Yes. Early. If the good-looking big brother comes to our house next time, you must help our unreliable sister and keep the good-looking big brother. Goto Naoki said jokingly from the side. Yeah. Okay. I will try my best to make my sister a good-looking bride for my big brother. Goto Yuri clenched his fists, raised his young face and spoke seriously. Chapter 170. Why is a beautiful girl a beautiful girl? 4,000 words. Goto Ichiri followed Nangxiang Shi all the way back to the main building. She is really satisfied now. Met with parents. When he learned about Nangxiang, he trusted her and watched her work hard. For Kazuri Goto, this is enough. With Nangxiang Shi's belief and his trust, she was already satisfied. But there is a small regret in it. Even if she is so busy now, she has no chance to show off her maid uniform in front of Nangxiang Shi. Originally, she put on this maid outfit just for Nangxiang. But until now, she hadn't heard a single comment from Nangxiang Shi. This can be regarded as a small regret in my heart. But forget it. It is enough to achieve such results today. Godu thought for a while, turning his head and secretly looking at Nang Xiangxi beside him through his two long bangs. Other than that, she had no other actions. Because sometimes, as long as she didn't speak, when she looked at Nang Xiang, she could feel an unreasonable sense of happiness. The two continued walking forward. When it was almost time, Nang Xiangxi, who she had been looking at, suddenly spoke. That's almost it? Godu suddenly came back to his senses, and then noticed that the two of them had already circled back to the main building before they knew it. The second grade she wanted to go to in Nangxiang had to go up to the first floor, but the class she wanted to go back to continued to the right. So fast. Godu Ichiri murmured in his heart. The long corridor that many Oka High School students complained about on weekdays seemed so short to her now. I really want to walk with him for a while. I still want to keep walking with him for a while. It doesn't matter if you just walk for a while, and do nothing. Godu Ichiri lowered his eyes and thought so. But then, I'll go back first, she still can't say willful words. Godu Ichiri never wanted to cause trouble to the young man in front of him. Even if she knew, as long as she made this request, Nang Xiangxi would have a high probability of agreeing. She didn't want to cause trouble to Nang Xiangxi, so she turned around and planned to retreat. But wait a minute, 1 mile. Why? The unsolicited voice coming from behind stopped Godu Ichiri as he was about to turn around and leave, and asked in a low voice, is there anything else? Toki. It's actually nothing. The young man with short black hair who she was secretly watching just smiled, I just want to say that the maid outfit is very cute, Eli. See you later then. Nang Xiangxi stretched out his hand and waved, then took the initiative to go upstairs. Only Gotu Ichiri was left standing there with a stunned look on his face. Then Gotu Kazuri suddenly took out his cell phone and contacted someone. At the same time, Kita Ikuyo, who had temporarily finished his work at the maid butler cafe in class, suddenly heard his cell phone ring. Huh? Line message. After finally seeing off a group of guests, Kita Ikuyo finally took a break and looked at his cell phone strangely. Just see the top of the screen. Line's trust record is very obvious. She went in strangely. Then. Probably dead, Kita-chan, I have decided. Already decided. These sudden words had no beginning and no end, leaving Kita Ikuyo Hoji's monk confused. She was just about to send a message to ask Gotu Kazuri what he had decided. Gotu Ichiri over there had already taken the initiative to send out the message. Probably dead, I have decided to live in this maid outfit for the rest of my life. Kita Ikuyo stared blankly at the words on the screen. Alas. Be the sunniest person, wait, Gotu-san, what are you talking about? Moreover, the maid outfit was made together with class funds, so it is class supplies. Probably dead, I'll buy it, it will be no problem if you buy it, I can't live without it now. No, 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 Ikuyo Kita opened his mouth wide after seeing the news about Gotu Ichiri. The problem is too big. No matter what, you can't live in a maid outfit for the rest of your life, right? And Kita Ikuyo clearly remembers it. When someone in the class asked Ichiri Gotu to put on a maid uniform, she was still reluctant and even turned slightly pale. What happened that caused the other party to suddenly make a 180-degree turn in his thinking? Kita Ikuyo was not stupid. On the contrary, she quickly thought of the most reasonable possibility. Can Ichiri Gotu become like this? Probably only Senior Nang Xiang. Kita Ikuyo couldn't help but scratch his head. She probably guessed. It must have been when Nango praised Ichiri Gotu's appearance in maid uniform. That's why the other party suddenly wanted to spend money to buy this maid outfit, right? Kita Ikuyo has a headache. Nangxiang brain is a disease. Obviously, Goto Ichiri's condition has reached a critical stage. Ikuyo Kita over there has a headache. But in Nangxiang, it was quite relaxed. I accompanied MS Shinjo to the half-tour of the Oka festival, and then accompanied MS Goto to resolve the matter concerning Goto Eri. Everything went well. Nanxiangshi stretched his waist. Miss Shinjo had already treated him to breakfast, and now he was sitting in the lounge at the backstage of his class, steadily flipping through the library book in his hand, waiting for the next chocolate banana making shift. At the same time, on the other side, my love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Uda Wei. Chapter 211. Is Nangxiang-san sitting inside? Isn't that guy too enviable? Standing at the front desk, simmering the chocolate bought from the market, pour the chocolate on the bananas that have been peeled and skewered with bamboo skewers, and then sprinkle with colored sugar needles, and a bunch of chocolate bananas are ready. Teo Tsuchiya complained to Shota Shimazaki next to him. This guy is handsome, has good grades, and has good physical fitness. The key is that he actually has a close relationship with Shinjo-san. Recalling the scene when Akane Shinjo helped Nango complete the sewing of fonts for the Oka festival, Tsuchiya Taeyang was so envious that his eyes turned red. That's Akane Shinjo. Second in grade. She looks cute and delicate. The perfect Superman with a sunny personality. Such an outstanding girl actually willingly helped Nangxiangshi without any impatience. How could he not be envious? I almost chewed my back molar. Yes. Shimazaki Shota couldn't help but say, I used to regard Shinjo-san as the lover of my dreams. When he said this, his tone was sour, as if he had eaten a lemon. Alas, life is really unfair. Why isn't there a beautiful girl like him who likes a boy like him? Isn't a gentle male protagonist like him very popular in comics? But the actual situation is. It's just that gentleness has no effect at all. It is impossible for an autistic boy who is unwilling to communicate to win the heart of a girl. The two people looked at each other, sighed, and continued their work. After all, there is nothing you can do no matter how much you complain. It was just when the two of them lowered their heads to work that a cute and energetic voice came from the side. Oh? Chocolate banana? Takina, come here, it looks good. Shimazaki Shota and Tsuchiya Teo subconsciously raised their gazes, and then the two of them stayed where they were. The edge of the black headband is cutely tied into a side ponytail, and the blonde hair is slightly curled. The swaying appearance is a gorgeous look that cannot be ignored. The sunny and contagious smile on her lips makes it easy for people to forget their worries and be infected by her sunny temperament. And right next to the curious blonde girl was a serious-looking girl with long black hair and a cold face. The other person was wearing an orange shirt with pleated cuffs on his upper body, and a blue denim skirt on his lower body. Unlike the blonde girl, she did not wear any decorations. But that's exactly what happened. The black-haired girl without any decorations exudes a sense of elegance as quiet as an orchid. Like a lady from a famous family. These two girls. One movement and one silence. One is like the rising sun in June, and the other is as quiet as an ancient spring in autumn. It's like the front and back of a mirror. And apart from this, isn't this too cute? Tsuchiya Taeyang couldn't help but murmur to himself. If we want to talk about beauty, the two girls in front of them are not inferior to the Akane Shinjo they were discussing before. Hey? Am I cute? Hee, thank you for the compliment, come on Takina. People are praising you. Please thank them quickly. The blonde girl obviously heard Tsuchiya Taeyang's voice, and laughed energetically, hee, and then pulled the black-haired girl named Takina next to her to talk. The black-haired girl was obviously forced to do nothing by her companions. After sighing helplessly, he bowed gently to Tsuchiya Taeyang and said, thank you. Then, those purple wisteria-like eyes looked at the blonde girl beside him and urged. Let's get down to business, Qianshu. Business. Tsuchiya Taeyang raised his head strangely. Ahaha, that's it? The blonde girl laughed heartily and looked left and right with her fiery red eyes before speaking. This should be the class where our boyfriend Nang Xiangxi is, right? Can this classmate tell Toki-kun that Jianshu and Takina are here and are outside now? After she finished speaking, the corners of her mouth raised slightly. But the content of the words made Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki widen their eyes, showing expressions of complete disbelief. Both of us? When my boyfriend is in Nangxiang? The amount of information in this discourse contains too much and is too complex. The young minds of Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki were greatly impacted. How could such a thing happen? Just forget about Shinjo-san. Actually, the cute blonde girl and black-haired girl in front of me, are also closely related to Nang Xiangxi. He even casually admitted that the two of them were in a relationship with Nang Xiang's girlfriend. Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki wanted to convince themselves that this was just a joke made by the cynical blonde girl. But the key is that the serious-looking black-haired girl next to her didn't even mean to refute. It's just that her fair face turned red, that's all. Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki were a little suffocated. Sunday. Shimazaki Shota couldn't help but whispered, can the gap between people really be so big? You ask me. Tsuchiya Teo is now also trapped in self-doubt. He originally thought that the only difference between himself and Nangxiang Toki was Akane Shinjo. But now it seems. Comparing people with each other, in a sense, it can really make people mad. He sighed deeply, then turned around and said to the blonde girl who was still waiting at the front desk, please wait a moment, we will go in and call Nangxiang. In the blonde girl's that'll be troublesome in the voice. Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki walked into the lounge. Then. Chisu and Takina. Nangxiang was flipping through the library when he heard Tsuchiya Taeyang's words, raised his head, and sighed speechlessly. He originally thought that after temporarily solving the problem between Miss Shinjo and Miss Godu, he would be able to rest easy for the time being. The result was really unexpected. Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina are here again. Why do these little girls seem to have agreed upon this? Wave after wave? Didn't you let him rest at all? He hasn't sat down for more than 10 minutes since 5:30 in the morning. Nangxiang was a little helpless. But after all, Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina came to visit him. Naturally, he had to go out, so he could only nodded and said, okay. You're just like, okay. Tsuchiya Teo and Shimazaki Shota looked at each other. Originally, both of their eyes were almost bloodshot with envy at this moment. During the critical moment in Nangxiang, this guy actually had a reluctant look on his face. This is amazing. Nangxiang. Tsuchiya Taeyang's mentality was unbalanced, and he couldn't help but gritted his teeth and said, do you know how rare it is to have beautiful girls in this world? Why do you say this suddenly? Because the two outside are beautiful girls. Taeyang Tsuchiya had a look of hatred on his face. With this opportunity in front of you, shouldn't you just kneel down in front of them and ask them to marry you? It's a blessing to have these two people like you, right? Nangxiang. Did you save the world in your previous life? Next to him, Shota Shimazaki also had a ferocious expression on his face, and made a sound like saying lemons are sour if he can't eat them. Teo Tsuchiya and Shota Shimazaki have obviously fallen into a state of madness, and due to the last sewing job, the two of them had a good relationship with Nangxiang. So I grabbed him and started talking about what was good about the beautiful girl, and also analyzed the beautiful girl's appearance, temperament, and figure. In the end, only one conclusion was reached. That is to ask Nangxiang to get out of the lounge immediately and propose to the two of them. Nangxiang, who was listening to them next to him, was also speechless for a while. These two guys have obviously never even been in love, yet they are still searching for enemies in the void to guide him. but yes. It would not be good to keep Nishiki Chisuk and Inu Takina waiting. With this thought in mind, Nan Xiangxi opened the door curtain and walked out. Chapter 171. The two of them want to be happy together. 4,200 words. There is a saying that you must hear someone before you see them. As soon as he walked out of the backstage lounge, Nan Xiangxi understood what the sentence meant. Toki-kun. Chef Nang Xiang. Two voices. A voice was as hot as the sun, and it was impossible to ignore. The other is as calm as the sound of clear spring water, making people feel inexplicably quiet just listening to it. Kinzu, Miss Inu. Nan Xiangxi nodded, smiled, and took the initiative to say hello, and at the same time raised his gaze and looked behind the two of them. Apart from them, no other members of Liko Riko were seen.